If you haven't caught my video, please watch this video before you move to a talk about South Africa. This is the segment where I spoke about how people around the world hold our white South Africans to a completely different standard to which they hold other white people. And they lambast our black South Africans and South Africans of all colors over our unity. Okay. This will be a rant. If you haven't watched the full video, you won't get how, like, what escalated me to this kind of anger. So just take it as it is. But this hypocrisy has got to stop. Stop patronizing my country, guys. This is Nuance with Nikki, the nitty gritty, even if it's shitty. Have a look. And if you're interested, please go and watch the full video, whether or not I change the title later. The link is in the description. Let's go.
I have seen a video of a Somalian immigrant to America. I can tell from her features she's Somalian, sitting there in her hijab on Donald Trump's soil, on Joe Biden's soil, more concerned with who we chose for a beauty pageant contestant than she is for the fact, in her American accent, that her tax dollars are going to do and what? She has much more important things to do. But would she listen to us? No. She will sit there and be okay that Devereaux is an American surname, but have a problem with LaRue. That's been here for hundreds of years. The same way Devereaux got there. The same way. When I Google the word American beauties, there's about one girl there that I believe is a Native American. I'm not even sure about that girl. Perhaps she is. But you guys have no problem with this. You understand that colonialism happened. You understand that cruelty happened. You still celebrate it. You still celebrate it and give thanks for it every November. Right? While the Native Americans are going through Trail of Tears. You trivialize South Africa's work, and the indigenous here have said, you know what? We had the opportunity. We had the opportunity and the ability to chase them away. We had the opportunity and the ability to have a war and murder, but we were just too exhausted to do that. We wanted to try something new, something revolutionary that nobody else had done. And then you still take the moral high ground. When I search for Australian beauties, how many of these girls are Aborigine? What percentage? You accept her as an Australian beauty. New Zealand, show me the Maoris here. Show me what percentage. Okay? And yes, there is some inclusivity, but they're in the vast minority. South Africa's ratio is much bigger than that. Incredibly bigger. Much bigger. Okay? And yet you take the moral high ground when you have your own doors to sweep in front of. Because you fetishize my nation and you think it's your whipping boy when it's time, and you literally think that you'll come here and you think that you will immigrate to America, you'll immigrate to Britain, you'll immigrate to the UK, you'll give all your documents, you'll give them your best. But here, you must be served like a waiter on the basis of skin color, not on the basis of law. You want infrastructure, you want the benefit of all the infrastructure, but none of the input. That's what your problem is with black South Africans, right? That's your problem. Your real problem. And they've done diversity incredibly well. And yes, circles around you. Circles around you. Circles in only 3 decades. On the question of black talent in my country, okay? Never mind their talent or what they did themselves. Well, how about what they've inspired other people to do the best in the world? Sarafina, our most popular musical, who starred in it in 1992. Have a look, see there. Make sure that...
Right, if you have heard ruffling of papers there, I've been looking for some notes. Can't find them, so gonna speak from my heart. White South Africans are African enough when you hold them to a higher standard than you hold your own white people to. White South Africans are African enough when they are overlooked. Rassie Erasmus is the best damn rugby coach in the world, but he was overlooked for that. White South Africans are African enough when they are perceived as violent for being good at rugby. When they are surrounded by, let's say, 6 Australians, 5 British people, 12 New Zealanders, whatever the case is, on the rugby field, and they're trying to defend themselves, or they're trying to defend the other one, South Africa, they're trying to de-escalate the situation, then in those rugby matches, video after video calls them violent and says they're trying to intimidate others. White South Africans are African enough when they fairly win and people call them cheats. White South Africans are African enough when you use their whiteness as an excuse to mock a disabled woman like Mia LaRue. When you use their whiteness as an excuse to call our boy Dricus du Plessis a pink pig. They are African enough when you guys don't allow them to cross borders, certain borders. When South Africa was shut down, South Africa's borders were shut down during the Omicron and Delta variants that South Africa found for the world to stop them, to help them not spread it. And we were all lambasted for that. We were treated as if it was our fault. Then white South Africans were African enough. And a lot of the things you try to do to punish South Africans, you don't even punish them. When people closed down, when Israel closed down the planes from Johannesburg to Tel Aviv, they didn't hurt any black South Africans or colored South Africans or Indian South Africans. At that point in time, as they were attacking Rafah, we had no interest in going to Israel. The only people you snubbed there were Jewish South Africans who may have wanted to go and visit their Israeli family, irrespective of what their political position is, whether they're pro or anti. But then white South Africans are African enough. I'm not making an excuse. I hope you hear me. This is called nuanced Nikki. I'm not making an excuse for what's happening in Israel. I'm saying that it's white South Africans that are African enough when you guys want to lambast them. Right? They are African enough when you mischaracterize what they say in your videos. They are African enough when your comedians will say, they'll say, I moved away from South Africa because I didn't want to get murdered. And you guys make that about them being pro-apartheid when you don't know if they were tortured in prison, if they had their testicles electrocuted. You don't know anything about the Fort prison up here from my house. The solitary confinement, the way you look at those photos and you cannot breathe, right? You know nothing about how they were the most hated by the apartheid government as white liberalists. You know nothing for what a white person paid here when they were called volksverraaier, which means race traitor. You know nothing about the fact that they were the most hated by the apartheid government just for being a liberalist. Your white people are free to be liberalists. Ours, when I was born, if you just said racism was wrong, you could find yourself being seen as enemy number one. And so many did it. Our longest serving prisoner was classified as white. Our longest serving anti-apartheid prisoner. Controversial person, Dimitri Trafendas, but go and look it up. Go look at how people urinated in his food and force-fed it to him. How he was put into a straitjacket and beaten. But all you want to see is demons. Were you ever taught that the first people for whom concentration camps were invented by the British on South African soil were white South Africans? This is not to excuse any of their behavior, this and the other thing. But all you guys know is the worst part. They're African enough when you hold them to a different standard, to a higher standard. When you go, I don't care about that. Who the fuck said that what you care is relevant? It is not your country. And you speak over the rest of us who live with people, who see what they contribute to this country every single day. While you are apologists for those who would violate this country, at the end of the day, if you were a supporter of that specific beauty pageant person that I will not mention her name anymore, but if you were a supporter of her, at the end of the day, no matter what your justification, no matter what, you wanted to support crime on the basis of race. You wanted crime to be excused on the basis of race. And when you came for Mia LaRue, what you wanted to do was to get out your frustration and whiteness that you're not confronting in your own country. Show me the white people in your country that had a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, that went on TV and spoke plainly about what they did. Show me. Show me half the accountability in your country that your white people have taken compared to ours. Now cancel me and hate me. I don't give a fuck, but hands off South Africans. Hands off of us. Enough is enough. Nuance with Nikki, the nitty gritty, even if it's shitty. Welcome to a conversation with the big boys.